When you start hunting for a gaming rig, the first thing you notice is how many budget desktops promise high frame rates at a price that looks too good to be true. I've seen friends spend a few $100s on a stripped-down machine, only to be left holding a box of parts that barely run anything beyond a basic indie title. The disappointment sticks, and you start wondering whether it's safer to splurge on something that looks a little more serious. That's the exact dilemma I was in last month when I began comparing pre-built gaming PCs. The STROMCRAFT Falcon with an Intel Core Ultra 7 270K, an RTX 5070, 32GB of DDR5 memory and a 1TB SSD caught my eye because it sits right in the mid-range but future-proof zone. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. My first hesitation was around the all-in-one promise. A pre-built system means you're trusting the manufacturer not just with the components, but also with the assembly, BIOS settings, cable management, and even the cooling profile. I dug through a couple of tech forums and watched a handful of unboxing videos that aren't sponsored, looking for red flags like overheating under load or noisy fans that turn a bedroom into a construction site. The Falcon's 360mm AIO liquid cooler, the claims of immersive cooling, and the fact that it ships with Windows 11 Home already set a higher bar than the bare-bones options you see on Craigslist. Still, I wanted to know if the price point, roughly a little under $2,000, actually reflects a smarter buy compared with buying components separately and building it yourself. Let's talk about who this machine feels built for. If you're a casual gamer who primarily hits titles like Fortnite, Valorant, or Minecraft, a lower-tier GPU will already handle 1080p at high settings, so the RTX 5070 could be overkill. What the Falcon does well is give those users a painless upgrade path. The RTX 5070, while not the absolute top of the line, sits comfortably above the RTX 3060 Ti and below the RTX 4070. In real-world testing, I ran Cyberpunk 2077 at 1440p with ray tracing set to medium, and the frame count hovered around 55 FPS, smooth enough to feel high-end without needing to dip into ultra-high settings. The CPU is an Intel Core Ultra 7 270K, a chip that's marketed for AI workloads but also packs enough cores to keep modern game engines from choking. In a typical open-world session of Elden Ring with mods enabled, the CPU never became a bottleneck. The system maintained a steady 70 frames per second at 1440p, and loading times dropped to under 10 seconds thanks to the 1TB NVMe SSD. Now, if you're a competitive esports player who lives for high refresh rates and low latency, there might be a better fit. For those who need a 240Hz monitor and want the absolute lowest input lag, a system with a higher-tier GPU and a motherboard that supports overclocking would shave a few precious milliseconds. The Falcon's B860 motherboard is solid for mainstream use, but it doesn't expose the full overclocking headroom you'd find on a series board. So, the sweet spot for this machine is the enthusiastic hobby gamer who wants a respectable performance envelope out of the box without the hassle of tuning BIOS knobs. The strengths of the Falcon become clear when you plug it into your daily workflow. The 32GB of DDR5 RAM running at 6000 MHz means you can have a dozen browser tabs, a streaming client, and a game running simultaneously without feeling the memory ceiling. I ran a scenario where I streamed a 1080p video on Twitch, had the Discord voice chat open, and kept a background download active while playing Starfield. The system handled all of that without stuttering, which is a practical advantage over older DDR4-based rigs that start to swap when you cross the 16GB threshold. Cooling is another real-world win. The 360mm AIO cooler, paired with a well-ventilated chassis, kept CPU temperatures in the low 60s Celsius even after an hour of continuous rendering in Blender. The fans were audible but not intrusive, a low hum that you might hear in a quiet office, not a whirring beast. The RGB lighting is tastefully done. It's not the chaotic neon strip that blinks every color of the rainbow, but a subtle diffuse glow that you can toggle off if you prefer a low-profile desktop. For many users that care about aesthetics as much as performance, this hits a comfortable middle ground. On the flip side, there are a few hidden trade-offs. The power supply is an 850W gold-rated unit, which is generous for the current components, but it does add weight and bulk to the case. If you plan to move the PC around, say, from a home office to a friend's house for a LAN party, the whole chassis feels a bit hefty. Also, while the included Wi-Fi 6 module and Bluetooth are convenient, the real speed you get depends on your router's capabilities. I found that a wired Ethernet connection still gives the most consistent ping for online shooters. The ready-to-play game library is more of a marketing line than an actual bundle. There's a shortcut folder with a few demos, but you'll need to purchase or